episode 13 of Spiritual Nuggets with Miss Emilina Lakakimushila Makungela, and I'm your host for Spiritual Nuggets. So today we are discussing the word purpose, or the message purpose. This is inspired by a training that I actually attended. I really wish I could say it's God, but I'm literally all things work together. Look at me getting ahead of myself. But yeah, all things work together for good. So I attended this other training, and one of the things that they were speaking about is purpose. And I thought to myself, I was like, wow, this is very intriguing, this is very interesting, and we really need to share. I really need to share this with the children of God. So we are reading from the book of Romans chapter 8 verse 28, a very well-known scripture, I believe. It reads thus: "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." So it says that everybody has been called, or those that love him have been called according to his purpose, right? And how I want to bring it is, let me make a bit of an example. When we're looking at Jeremiah, we see God revealing himself to Jeremiah, saying that before I formed you, I knew you. Before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you and I had plans for you. I called you and I anointed you to be a prophet among nations, which means that everybody is born with a purpose. So in the training, the lady who was training us was mentioning how people can deviate outside of their purpose. She made a very intriguing example of a boat that is near a railroad. So a boat excels and it functions very well in a sea. It functions very well in water. But then when you're putting it on a gravel road, when you're putting it on a railroad, it's not going to go anywhere. It's stagnant. It's not fulfilling its purpose. And it made me realize that sometimes many of us as children of God, we are functioning outside of our purposes. We are there, we are carrying all these purposes. We are there, we are carrying all of these things that God has called us and appointed us into be. And I'm not only speaking of what we call as kingdom assignments. I'm not only speaking of being a pastor. I'm not only speaking of being an intercessor. I'm speaking of going out there and being a doctor. I'm speaking of going out there and being a teacher. I'm speaking of going out there and being a social worker. All of those things, there are people who are actually called into those. But then, are you really functioning in your call? Or did you just be like, nah, I feel like that's going to be a longer route. Nah, that is not going to pay very well. No, that seems to be boring. I'm not going to do it. But then you were actually being called into it. And now you have deviated into a new thing that you're no longer fulfilling your purpose, bringing back into the kingdom. No, you have been called to go out there and serve. You have been called into the gift of giving. But then you're not giving. In fact, you're pushing to want to minister. You want to be on the pulpit and be saved. Let's function. Let's go back and ask God, what is it that you have called us into? How can we function into the call that you have called us into? So that we may fulfill our purposes, so that the kingdom may grow. Sometimes the kingdom is not growing because we are not moving, we are stagnant. What the people are supposed to be sailing the boat, but no, now I'm sitting on the railroad, I want to be a train. May we reflect and function in our purposes. I pray that each and every one of you that is listening to this episode today may realize their function, may realize their call, may realize that which God has called them into it, and give, and be it what you have liked to serve into or not. But may you realize your call and may you serve into it. And may God help you brighten the corner where you are, and God will lift you up. Shalom. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May he turn his face towards you and give you peace.